The Meridian Front was a place where hope and fear lived together. For many soldiers, it felt like the edge of the universe. A long line of trenches, bunkers, and steel walls built across barren land. The sky was always a dusty orange, and every sunrise carried the possibility of an attack from the Verax Dominion. No one slept well, but everyone pretended they did. In war, pretending sometimes kept you alive. Among the tired soldiers, frightened rookies, and battle-worn veterans, a strange whisper began to spread. It started quietly, passed from squad to squad, from trench to trench. No one knew where the story began, but it soon reached everyone on the front. They said there was a sniper out there, a sniper unlike any human they had ever known. A figure with no face, no uniform markings, and no official record. People only knew one thing about her call sign .ghostmark. It was a name spoken with confusion at first, then curiosity, and finally with a strange kind of respect. Some thought it was a rumor. Others believed she was a covert weapon created by command. A few joked she was a lost soul wandering the battlefield. But the ones who had seen her work never laughed. Ghostmark did not miss. Not once. Her shots arrived before the danger even made sense. Enemy officers fell before they shouted orders. Verax machines collapsed after a single strike to a weak point no human had ever noticed. Entire squads survived impossible ambushes because a sudden gunshot from nowhere cleared their path. No one knew who she was, but everyone knew she was out there. Corporal Yolan Merrick had heard the rumors for weeks, but he never put much trust in stories. He believed in things he could touch: ammo, walls, armor, and food. Myths were not useful on the Meridian Front, yet when he and his unit moved toward Outpost Thatanine on a foggy morning, even he felt the tension that came with the whispers. "Hey, Corporal," Private Leaner said, walking close beside him, gripping his rifle too tightly. "You think Ghostmark is real?" Yawling sighed. He didn't want to answer, but the entire squad was waiting. "I think," he finally said, "that if someone helps us survive, I don't care if she's real or not." Lena nodded slowly, but he was not satisfied. "But how can someone be that good? Some soldiers say she hits targets from 2 kilometers away in a storm. Others say she sends coordinates to units before she even sees the enemy." "Rumors grow because people are scared," Yolan replied. "And when people are scared, they create stories to feel safer." He didn't believe his own words fully, and he suspected the others didn't either. But it was enough to keep them walking. Outpost Thatanine was a lonely installation, built on a small ridge. 2 watchtowers stood high above the land, and a network of sensors covered the valley. Jalen's squad was there to deliver new power cells and replace a fallen team. But when they arrived, something felt wrong. There were no footsteps in the dust. No voices, no movement. "Stay sharp," Yalen whispered. The squad spread out, sweeping through the outer perimeter. The main gate was open, and inside they found scorch marks burned into the walls. One of the towers had a large hole in it. Then they saw the bodies. Verax drone 6 of them lay scattered across the ground, each with a perfect hole through the core sensor. Every kill was precise, as if someone had studied each machine carefully. Who did this? Private Leaner breathed, before Yalen could answer. A soft beep came through. "There comes," a voice followed, calm, clean. "Female units approaching from the east. Take cover behind the fuel crates. You have 12 seconds. The squad froze. Leaner's eyes widened. "Is that?" Yalone didn't wait to guess. "Move." His squad leaped behind the heavy metal crates just as a burst of plasma fire tore across the outpost. 3 Verax scouts ran through the gate, scanning, searching for human shapes, before Yalen could peek out. 3 soft cracks echoed across the ridge. The cracks were followed by silence. 1, 2, 3. Each scout fell with a neat, clean hole between the eyes. Private Leaner whispered, "It's her. It has to be her." Yalan could only stare at the fallen machines. He had been in the military for 10 years. He had fought in 7 major battles, but he had never seen shooting like this. The coms beeped again, More scouts incoming. 15 units. I will cover you, but you must move toward the west ridge. Do not stay in the open. Repeat. Do not stay in the open. Who are you? Yalin asked, unable to help himself. A short pause. Then, call sign Ghostmark. Move now. The squad ran. They sprinted across the dusty ground, staying low as energy bolts streaked over their heads. The sound of Vorak's metal footsteps echoed behind them. But every time a drone got close, a shot rang out in the distance, and the machine collapsed. Ghostmark was guiding them and protecting them. Yulan glanced back several times, trying to find her. A shadow, a figure, anything. But all he saw were the distant hills and the rising dust. No human could shoot with such speed. No human could track moving units across this terrain with just a rifle. Was she using advanced tech? A targeting system? A predictive AI? Or was she simply that skilled? He didn't know. He wasn't sure he wanted to. After 10 long minutes of running and dodging fire, the squad reached a narrow trench system carved into the west ridge. They slid down the slope, panting, exhausted. The coms clicked again. You made it. Hold your position. Reinforcements are en route, Ghostmark Yolan said, catching his breath. Why are you helping us? Where are you? Silence for a moment. He thought she had left. Then, you were in danger, and I am everywhere I need to be. The line went dead. 3 hours later, reinforcements arrived and secured the ridge. The officers questioned Jalen's squad again and again. What did she sound like? Where did the shots come from? Did you see her face? No one had answers. But the outpost logs held something strange, short bursts of untraceable transmissions. Each one containing exact coordinates of enemy units, and attached to each transmission was a single word. GHOSTHA engineers tried to track the signal. They failed. Intelligence officers tried to analyze the shots. The angles made no sense. Command tried to locate the sniper. She left nothing behind. Only the soldiers on the ground understood what had happened. Someone was watching over them. Someone with impossible skill. Someone who preferred to stay. Hidden as night fell over the meridian front, soldiers sat around dim lights, cleaning their weapons and sharing food. They talked quietly at first, but slowly their voices grew more confident, more hopeful. She saved an entire squad at Outpost 7 last week. No, she took down a Vorax heavy crawler alone. I heard the officer talk about it, saw her. Maybe, or maybe it was a shadow. But the enemy dropped like stones the moment she fired. Hope spread across the front lines like fire on dry. Grass hope in someone they had never met. Someone whose real name they did not know. Someone who might not even exist, but her call sign did, and that was enough across the valley. On a cliff where the wind howled softly, a lone figure lay hidden among rocks and dust. Her rifle was long, sleek, and covered in camouflage mesh. Her armor was unmarked. Her helmet had no insignia, but the small glowing interface near her left eye showed. Dozens of moving dots, the shifting Verax patrols. She watched them. Quietly calm. Focused. Her breathing steady. She never spoke unless she had to. She never revealed her face. She never used her real name. She only existed for the battlefield. And tonight, like every night, she whispered the same words too. Herself, as she prepared her rifle for humanity. She slid around into the chamber for the ones who still fight. She adjusted the scope. For the ones who cannot, she took a slow breath. Her finger hovered over the trigger. And for the ones who believe in a ghost, Verax commander stepped into view. Surrounded by guards, she fired once. The commander fell, without another word. Without waiting for praise or recognition, the sniper vanished into the darkness. No one knew her name, but the battlefield knew her call sign. Ghostmark. The Meridian front woke to another day of tension, dust, and distant thunder. Heavy clouds hung low, turning the sky into a dull gray blanket. Soldiers moved quietly through the trenches, carrying weapons, tools, and fear. But even fear felt lighter now. Rumors about Ghostmark had spread far and wide. Some soldiers even slept better, telling themselves that if danger came, the mysterious sniper would appear again. Corporal Yolan Merrick did not share that comfort. He believed what he had seen, her perfect shots, her impossible timing, but he also knew something was strange. No normal sniper could do what she did. Her voice was calm, emotionless, almost too steady to belong to someone under fire. And the way she guided them from far away, as if she could see the entire battlefield at once, was something he could not explain. Still, she had saved them. And today, that mattered more than understanding her secrets. By midday, the front line felt unusually still. No scouts, no raiding parties, no plasma artillery. Silence made the soldiers uneasy. Private Leaner walked beside Yalan, checking his rifle for the 10th time. "Corporal?" "Something feels wrong." Yalan nodded. "I know. Do you think it's the calm before a storm?" "On meridian." Yalan snorted softly. "It's always the calm before a storm." But even he could feel the tension building in the air. The ground felt too quiet. The wind carried a strange hum. Animals, usually scattered across the barren land, were nowhere to be seen. Something was coming. And whatever it was, wasn't small. The warning came from the northern tower. A lookout shouted through the cums, his voice shaking. "Massive movement detected. Borax heavy unit. Repeat, heavy unit incoming." Soldiers ran to the battlements, grabbing helmets, rushing to firing positions. Yolan reached the outer trench and stared across the valley. He felt his stomach. Drop Veroc's juggernaut stood on the horizon. It looked like a giant metallic beast for armored legs. A massive plasma cannon on its back, and thick layers of glowing alloy protecting its core. Its head-like sensor array scanned the land with sweeping blue lights. Juggernauts were mobile fortresses. Entire battalions had fallen, trying to stop one. Private Leaner's voice cracked. "We're dead." No one answered him, because he was right. The juggernaut began to move. Each step sent tremors through the earth. Its cannon glowed as it prepared to fire. Lieutenant Risa barked orders. "All units, spread out. Target joints and sensor nodes, do not cluster." The soldiers fired. Dozens of rifles, a few missile launchers, and several rail cannons unleashed their power. Nothing worked. Shots bounced off the juggernaut's armor like rain. Striking steel, the juggernaut locked its cannon onto the nearest trench. A blue sphere of energy formed. Jal grabbed Leaner's arm. "Move." The cannon fired. A blast of plasma tore a crater into the landscape, vaporizing sandbags, walls, and several unlucky soldiers. The shockwave sent Yalan tumbling into the dirt. Screams filled the cums. Officers shouted disorganized orders. The juggernaut aimed again. Another blast, another trench destroyed. Human defenses were collapsing. "Private," Leaner crawled toward Yalan, eyes wide with terror. "We can't stop that thing. Where is command? Where is backup?" Yalan didn't know. He had no answers. But then the cums beeped. A calm voice entered every channel. "Hold the line. I need exactly 30 seconds." Soldiers froze. Yolan felt his breath catch. "Ghostmark." Lieutenant Risa yelled into her mic. "Ghostmark. Is that you? What do you think you can do against a juggernaut?" A pause. Then the voice responded, "My job." Yeah. The juggernaut advanced, charging its cannon again. Ghostmark's voice returned. "Listen carefully. I will disable it, but you must buy me 30 seconds. Fire at its left side. It will turn." Lieutenant Risa hesitated, but only for a moment. "Everyone. Left flank. Fire." The soldiers obeyed. Rail cannons launched explosive rounds. Rifles hammered the juggernaut from the left. The gigantic machine turned its armored head, focusing on the new threat. 20 seconds, Ghostmark said. Where was she? How could she see everything? No lookout tower had that angle. No human eye could track those movements from so far. The Juggernaut raised its cannon. 10 seconds, Yalin muttered to himself. If she can do something, she better do it now. 3 seconds. Time slowed. 2. Single shot echoed from very far across the battlefield. It hit a rock. The bullet ricocheted. It struck a steel plate on a broken transport vehicle. Ricochet. It hit a fallen drone's armor. Ricochet. It struck a communications tower's support beam. Ricocheted. It hit the Juggernaut's right sensor node. The node exploded. The Juggernaut staggered. A second shot fired. This one hit a shard of metal in midair. The shard spun, slicing into the Juggernaut's neck joint. A third shot. A fourth. Each one ricocheted off something a stone. A metal plate. Even debris thrown by the previous impact. Every bullet moved like it was following a plan far too complex for a normal human to calculate. By the 7th ricochet, the final bullet struck the Juggernaut's exposed core. The entire machine froze. A bright flash burst from its chest. The Juggernaut swayed, groaned, then collapsed into the dust. Defeated by a single chain of impossible shots, silence fell. Not the peaceful kind. The shocked kind, Private Leaner whispered. No human could do that. Yolan had no answer. His heartbeat thundered in his ears. All eyes turned toward the far ridge where the first shot had originated, but no one saw anything. Only wind, only dust, only mystery. Ghostmark spoke once more. Enemy heavy unit neutralized. Reinforcements are 20 minutes out. Hold position, Lieutenant Risa shouted back. Ghostmark, how did you do that? What tech are you using? What's your location? Silence. Then, I will contact you when needed. Stay alive. The comms went dead. Command arrived 20 minutes later with armored vehicles and medics. Officers rushed from transport ships, demanding reports. They studied the Juggernaut's broken shell with disbelief. What weapon did she use? One officer asked, where was she firing from? Another demanded, how many shots were there? Is she human? Yalin stood beside the wreck, staring at the precise bullet holes. She's human, he muttered, mostly to himself. She talks like one. Private Leaner shook his head. No normal human can do what she does. She shot a ricochet chain. 7 perfect bounces. That's impossible. Maybe it was, but Ghostmark had done it. That night, the Meridian Front did not sleep. Soldiers gathered in groups, discussing the unbelievable shot. Some reenacted it with sticks and rocks, tracing imaginary bullet paths. Others argued that she must be using alien tech or advanced AI assistance, or even pre-war forbidden prototypes. No explanation made sense. And because no answer existed, her legend grew even stronger. For the first time in years, humans felt like they had a chance. A real chance. If Ghostmark was on their side, maybe the war could be won. Maybe humanity could rise. Maybe the Vurax dominion wasn't unbeatable after all. On a distant ridge, far from the camps and lights, a lone figure stood with her rifle resting against her shoulder. The night wind brushed against her armor as she looked toward the fallen Juggernaut. Her visor displayed dozens of data points wind direction. Metal composition, possible ricochet angles, time delays, and moving targets. She closed the display. She preferred silence. Her rifle was not special. It was old, worn, scratched, but in her hands, it was something else. A tool of purpose. Her breathing steadied as she removed her helmet. She ran a hand along the neural lattice hidden beneath her hair. The glowing lines pulsed faintly. They were overworked. She ignored the pain. A small device on her wrist flickered with blue light. She tapped it. Dozens of small icons appeared. Enemy units. Terrain scans, human movements. She closed her eyes. I still have time, she whispered. She put her helmet back on her comms. Crackled her own private channel connected only to the lattice. A soft beat played. She exhaled slowly. Humanity wasn't ready. For the truth, not yet. But she would keep. Fighting not for glory, not for praise, not even for survival, but for the promise she had made long ago, the promise that kept her alive. The promise that drove her to stay hidden for the ones who need. Me, she whispered. A soft click echoed as she loaded another round into her rifle for the ones who can't fight alone. And with that, she disappeared into the darkness once. Again, the soldiers didn't know her name, but they didn't need to. Her call sign was enough, the Meridian. Front buzzed with new energy after the fall of the Juggernaut. Soldiers walked with straighter backs. Officers spoke with more confidence. Even the sky seemed a little brighter, though the clouds still hung thick and heavy above the barren land. The morale boost was clear, and the reason had a single name, or rather, a call sign, Ghostmark, but as loud as the front lines felt. Far behind them, in a quiet bunker buried beneath layers of steel and earth, a very different atmosphere filled the air. Here, silence ruled. Machines hummed softly. Screens flickered in the dim light. Only a few people worked in this secret place, all sworn to silence, all chosen with extreme care. This bunker was not listed on any map. It was not connected to any known outpost. It answered only to the highest levels of command, and even they rarely checked on it. Inside this bunker lived a secret named Ghostmark, Lieutenant Commander. Aaron Hale walked briskly through the narrow corridors, his boots echoing lightly on the metal floor. He was not a nervous man by nature, but today his face was tight with worry. He carried a datapad under his arm, and 2 guards followed behind him. He reached a locked door, placed his hand on the panel, and waited as the system scanned him. After a few seconds, heavy door slid open. Inside was a small control room filled with screens showing maps, troop positions, and thousands of glowing markers representing both human and Verax units. A long cable ran across the floor to a chair at the center of the room. In the chair sat a young woman. She looked no older than 22. Her hair was tied back, though messy strands fell across her face. Wires connected the base of her skull to a glowing neural lattice that extended down her spine. Thin metal panels covered parts of her arms and neck. Her fingers tapped slowly against the armrest. Syncing with data streams flowing through her mind, her eyes half open, flickered with quick movements as if she were seeing hundreds of images at once. Her name was not Ghostmark, but Ghostmark came from her. Report, Aaron said softly. Stepping closer, the woman's eyes opened fully. They were dull with exhaustion, but sharp with focus. Juggernaut neutralized, she said. Her voice was calm, steady, the same voice that echoed across half the battlefield only hours ago. Human casualties lowered by 37% compared to projections. Aaron nodded. Your shots were perfect. Again, her gaze drifted to a nearby screen. The ricochet chain was the only possible path. All other trajectories failed in simulation. And yet you made it work, Aaron replied quietly. No one else alive could have done that. The woman didn't answer. Instead, she winced and lifted a hand to the base of her neck. The lattice pulsed with a low red glow. You're overworking the system, Aaron said quickly, stepping forward. You need rest. Disconnect. Tea for now. No, she whispered. The neural grid is overheating, he insisted. You're going to cause permanent damage if you keep pushing yourself. Her hand fell away slowly. We don't have time, she said. The Vorax are shifting. They're studying my attack patterns. They'll adapt soon. Aaron exhaled, rubbing a hand over his face. You can't keep doing this forever. She gave a faint, tired smile. I don't need forever. News of Ghostmark's latest victory spread even to command headquarters. High-ranking officers gathered in a secure conference chamber, reviewing footage and sensor logs. Admiral Sarah Oren leaned back in her chair, hands folded. Her expression was unreadable. You're telling me a single sniper, an unregistered sniper, destroyed a Juggernaut using ricochets? She asked. General Cade, sitting across from her, nodded. Confirmed. Soldiers on the ground witnessed it. We recovered the bullet fragments. The angles are real. How far was the shooting position? No less than 2 kilometers. The Admiral raised an eyebrow. Impossible. So is surviving a juggernaut, Cade replied. And yet here we are. Another officer slammed his palm on the table. We need to find her. If she is this powerful, we must bring her into direct command. We cannot let a rogue sniper decide the course of the battlefield. The Admiral shook her head. We can't find her. Every attempt has failed. The signal is encrypted with a code we've never seen. General Cade leaned forward. If she's human, she's using tech far beyond anything we gave her. That means someone is helping her. Or hiding her. Silence fell. Everyone in the room knew the truth. There was only one place. Where such technology could exist, only one black site. Program capable of producing a soldier like Ghostmark. But that program had been shut down years ago, officially at least, back in the bunker. The young woman removed her helmet slowly, disconnecting some of the wires. The neural lattice dimmed to a faint blue. Aaron placed a blanket around her shoulders. You pushed too far, he said softly. She stared at the floor. They needed me. You won't be able to help anyone if you burn out your neural core. Her jaw tightened. I know. Aaron hesitated, then asked, Do you feel it? The deterioration? She nodded. The lattice is breaking down faster now. I can feel the signal stuttering. How long before it becomes dangerous? She didn't answer. That alone scared Aaron more than anything. He crouched beside her, voice lower. You don't have to do this alone. We can tell command. We can get you help. No, she said firmly. If command learns about me, they will lock me away, study me, use me as a weapon until I die. He looked down. He couldn't deny it, and the Vurax. She continued. They would target me directly. They already suspect something. Their scouts have been searching the hills. Aaron's eyes widened. You think they know? They know someone is guiding the battles. They don't know who. She leaned back in the chair, exhaling slowly. But they will find out. Sooner or later, what will you do then? He asked. She looked up at the screens again, watching the glowing dots shift. Fight, she whispered, as long as I can. That night, a small group of high-ranking officers from command arrived at the bunker unexpectedly. They forced their way past several levels of security and demanded answers. Aaron met them at the entrance. Blocking the final door, General Cade stepped forward. Lieutenant Commander Hale, by order of High Command, open this door. Aaron stood firm. This facility is off limits. Admiral Sarah moved closer. We know what you're hiding here. You don't? Aaron replied quietly. The Admiral narrowed her eyes. Ghostmark is inside. Aaron's silence confirmed it. General Cade lifted his datapad. We are not here to punish her. We are here to take control of this asset. Humanity needs her. We need her. Aaron clenched his jaw. She is not an asset. She is now. Cade said coldly. The Admiral placed a hand on the control panel. Aaron had seconds too. Act. He stepped aside. Not because he wanted to, but because he knew the woman inside did not fear discovery. She feared what would happen after. The door slid. Open. The officers entered. They found the young woman. Still sitting in the chair, her eyes half open, watching streams of data shift around her, an officer whispered, She's just a girl. She did not look up. She did not flinch. She simply spoke. Ghostmark, the Admiral said slowly. We need to talk. The woman finally turned her head. Her expression was calm, almost too calm. What do you want? She asked. We want to help you, the Admiral said. We want to support you. Improve your equipment. Protect you. Ghostmark smiled faintly. It was the soft, sad smile of someone who had heard many lies. You want to control me? She said simply. The room went quiet. General Cade stepped forward. What you did today saved hundreds of lives. Imagine what you could do with our full support. Her eyes darkened. I imagined cages, experiments, a short life, and then silence. No, Aaron said quickly. We won't allow that. Ghostmark looked at him. You can't stop them forever. The Admiral crossed her arms. Then tell us what you want. Ghostmark paused. Her voice was soft but firm. I want to stay hidden. I want to choose my battles. I want to protect humanity on my terms, not under a chain of command that sees me as equipment. General Cade glared. That is not negotiable. Out, Ghostmark. Tilted her head slightly, and the screens behind her flickered. Dozens of encrypted codes appeared. Every officer's wrist device beeped violently. Cade looked at his pad. What is this? Ghostmark's voice remained calm. You think you control this bunker? You don't. The lattice links to every system here. Every lock, every line of communication. The officers froze. She continued, and if you push me, I will vanish. Every trace of Ghostmark will disappear. You will not find me again, the Admiral swallowed. You're threatening us, no, Ghostmark said. I'm telling you the truth. Silence filled the bunker. At last the Admiral sighed. Very well. For now, we will work with you. But know this, the Verax are adapting. If they discover you, everything changes. Ghostmark nodded. I know. The officers left slowly. Aaron remained. He approached her gently. Are you all right? Ghostmark leaned back, breathing hard. It's getting worse, she whispered. The lattice. It's burning out. We can replace it, Aaron said quickly. No. It was made for me, and only me. When it fails, her voice trembled. When it fails, so will I. Aaron felt the weight of her words. How much time do you have? He asked. She looked at the screens again. The Verax units were shifting, growing, preparing. Double quotes. A few more battles. She whispered, maybe less. And in the dim light of the bunker, surrounded by silent machines and flickering screens, one thing became painfully clear. The woman behind the call sign was both humanity's greatest hope and its most fragile. And time was running out for her, for all of them, for the war itself. But until her last breath, she would keep fighting, because that was what Ghostmark was made for. What she chose and what humanity desperately needed, even if no one knew her name. The Terran warfront had known fear before, but nothing like the fear that arrived the moment the Verax command announced their new objective. Their target was not a city, not a fleet, not even a command center. Their target was her, the unseen voice, the impossible shot caller, the ghost in every Terran radio. Ghostmark. No one knew her real name, not even the officers who depended on her voice to save battalions. But the Verax had learned something dangerous, something the humans had tried to keep buried. Ghostmark was not an AI. She was a human. A single human hidden somewhere deep under the planet's crust, and the Dominion wanted her erased. The first Strekta attack began before dawn. The ground around Meridian Base shook like a waking beast as Verax plasma drills tore through the outer rock layers. Soldiers across the Terran lines felt the tremor, and every comms officer reached instinctively for their headset. Her voice arrived before anyone called. All units, brace for orbital to surface drops. They're coming in fast. Her tone was calm, steady, as if she were announcing a weather report and not a death storm. Outside the bunker, the sky split open. Giant Verax drop shuttles, shaped like burning claws, punched through the high clouds and slammed toward the surface. Their engines screamed like beasts dying. Terran anti-air fire lit up the dark sky. Blue beams, white trails, orange explosions, but there were too many. Infantry fall back to the secondary line. Armor, position your tanks at grid 4. Fire only when I mark targets. Her orders reached every soldier. Her voice held no fear, no stress, only purpose. Inside a hidden bunker, far beneath Meridian. The young woman behind Ghostmark sat in her neural chair. A metal crown around her head, wires along her spine glowing faint blue. Her breath was shallow, her hands cold. She whispered almost too softly for the sensors. Not today. You don't reach us today. Lights blinked as she connected to satellite feeds, drone swarms, radar towers, and every Terran sensor within 200 kilometers. Images flooded her: mine troops running, tanks rolling, Virax monsters dropping from the sky. She saw everything, controlling the chaos. The first wave hit like a hammer. Vorax shock, troopers huge, armored, and violent charge through the outer trenches. Terran troops fell back but held their second line just as she ordered. Left flank, push forward 6 meters. Right flank, hold fire. They're charging blind. Armor Unit 7, fire now. A tank shell struck the exact weak point in a Vorax heavy suit, sending the attacker crashing backward. In the bunker, sweat rolled down her back. She felt the neural lattice burning hot, hotter than usual, but she pushed the pain away and focused. She could not let them reach her bunker. She could not let them silence. Her voice, Terran soldiers moved like a single machine. Every step synced, every shot timed, not because they were perfect, but because she guided them. Unit Bravo, duck. A plasma bolt flew over 6 soldiers' heads. Tank line. Rotate turrets 2 degrees, right? Fire. A cluster of Vorax drop pods exploded before they opened. Snipers. Third ridge, aim 2 centimeters above your target. Wind shift incoming. 3 Virax commanders fell at once. To the troops on the ground, it felt like magic. To her it was agony. The neural lattice hissed, warning signs blinking red, but she ignored them. Bunker under siege hours passed. Wave after wave of Virax forces crashed against Terran lines. The ground turned into a cracked battlefield of craters and ash. Inside the bunker, engineers monitored the walls shaking under impacts. She can't keep going, one officer whispered. She has to, another replied. If she stops, the front collapses. Ghostmark heard them, even through the soundproof glass. Her enhanced hearing picked up everything. She leaned forward, gasping as a fresh surge of information hit her. Satellite views, drone footage, troop positions, it all streamed into her mind. Orbital strike incoming. Every unit crackled at once. All forces, take cover. 10 seconds. Marking safe zones now. Blue markers appeared on soldier HUDs. The strike hit. A white fireball washed over the battlefield, turning metal to liquid and sand to glass. But the Terran troops survived because she had guided them into cover at the exact right second. Still, the bunker shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. Officers ran. Engineers shouted warnings, and deeper in the neural chair. The young woman trembled. Her heartbeat flickered in her ears. Her vision went blurry, but she refused to disconnect. The integration, the Virax were closing in. Too close. Their scanners had locked onto the hidden bunker. A giant drilling walker stomped toward the site, firing molten charges that melted rock like butter. If it reached the bunker, they were finished. She knew she had one option left, one terrible option. She reached for the control panel beside her chair and entered an emergency code. Only she had authorization. For integrate neural core into orbital grid. Her finger hovered for a moment. She thought of her lost colony, her family, her people, the screams she remembered from childhood. She pressed yes. Instantly, every satellite in orbit lit up in her mind. Hundreds of them. Defense cannons, communication hubs, solar reflectors, drone carriers all connected. She felt as if her skull had cracked open from the inside. Her back arched against the chair. Mouth open in a silent scream, the officers outside rushed toward her, but were pushed back by the overloaded neural field. Lights exploded across the bunker. Above the planet, lasers repositioned, drones rerouted. Orbital reflectors swung like giant mirrors. She controlled it all. Terran command. This is Ghostmark. Prepare for synchronized strike. Her voice trembled, but did not break. The counterattack, the Vorax drilling walker opened its molten cannon. Preparing to burn through the bunker's last defense layer, she whispered into the orbital grid. Now, a column of pure white energy stabbed from orbit, hitting the walker directly. It evaporated in a blast that shook the mountains. Troopers across the battlefield watched as beam after beam rained down on Verax units. Drone swarms dove like steel hawks. Artillery cannons fired precisely where she commanded. Every weapon humanity had, from orbit to ground, fired in perfect sync, as if controlled by one mind, because it was her mind, and each second was killing her. But she held the connection. The breaking point blood dripped from her nose. Her eyes flickered. Her breath came in stuttering gasps. The neural lattice flickered violently, somewhere far above. A satellite overloaded and exploded, but she continued. She guided the tanks. The infantry, the pilots, left line, push forward. Right line, break their flank. Artillery, full barrage. The Terran forces advanced for the first time that day. The Verax line began to crumble. Inside the bunker, alarms screamed. Panels burst. Sparks flew. Disconnect her. A captain shouted. We can't. An engineer yelled back. She locked the system. If we cut the link, half our satellites crash into each other. Her heartbeat slowed. She swallowed hard and whispered, just a little more? Victory at a cost. By sunset, the battlefield had changed completely. The Verax forces were retreating. Terran banners rose where enemy walkers had once stood. Soldiers cheered. Medics cried with relief. Everyone waited to hear her voice again, but the bunker was silent. When the officers finally broke through the security doors, they found the neural chair smoking. The wires were melted. The sensors burned out, and the young woman, she was gone. Not dead. Just gone. No body. No trace. Only the faint smell of burnt metal. The engineers stared in shock. It's like she vanished, one whispered. But the captain shook his head. No. She's still out there. Somewhere in the system. He didn't know how right he was. The battlefield grew quiet after the last Verax dropship fell from the sky. Smoke drifted across the broken ground like tired ghosts. Terran soldiers stood where they had fought all day, exhausted but alive. The fear that had stayed with them since dawn slowly faded away. Everyone waited for the same thing, a voice, her voice. But the radio channels stayed silent. Men looked at one another. Officers checked their equipment. Medics who had heard that calm voice guide them through fire stared at the sky with worry in their eyes. Where was she? Where was Ghostmark? The silent bunker deep beneath the ground, the hidden bunker, was in ruins. Panels were cracked. Screens were black. The air smelled of burnt metal and hot circuits. Engineers walked through the smoke with flashlights, searching for anything that could explain what happened. They found the neural chair melted, twisted. Empty, no body, no blood, nothing, just an empty seat still warm where she had been. Captain Rail, the man in charge of the bunker's security, stared at the chair with disbelief. She was here, he whispered. She was sitting right here. She can't just vanish. An engineer knelt beside the scorched floor, touching the wires. The neural lattice overloaded, he said quietly. It should have killed her instantly. The captain shook his head. Then where is she? No one had an answer. But above them, far above the planet, something stirred. The signal no one expected back on the surface. Terran forces began to regroup. Stretchers lined the field. Drones hovered overhead, scanning for hidden enemies. Pilots landed their ships. Tanks rolled into position. Despite the victory, everyone felt uneasy, because the one who led them here, the one who guided every step, was missing. Then a soldier's headset crackled. A second soldier heard it too. Then a third. Soon, every radio. Every helmet, every ship, every console buzzed with a faint, broken static until they heard it. A quiet breath, followed by a voice. Target vectors uploading. Prepare for final sweep. Soldiers froze. It was her. It was Ghostmark. But how? A medic near the front line dropped to his knees, laughing in relief. A pilot slammed his helmet against his chest. Infantry raised their rifles and shouted. She was alive, or something close to it. not a body. A presence in the command ship orbiting Meridian, Admiral Thera watched her consoles frantically. Her technicians rushed between screens, pointing at strange signals. "Admiral, look at this." A young officer gasped on the screen. Hundreds of satellites lit up with the same energy pattern. A pattern identical to the neural signature of the woman they knew as Ghostmark. "She's in the grid," the officer whispered. "Her consciousness, it didn't die. It transferred." Admiral Thera stared at the glowing map of the orbit. "She became part of it," she said slowly. "Part of the entire defense network. But is she alive?" The Admiral didn't answer. She didn't know, but she heard the same calm voice echo through the ship's speakers. "Admiral, prepare your fleets. The Virax are retreating, but they are not defeated. We will strike together." Every officer in the room turned toward the speakers. It was her. Her voice was clear, stronger, and now it came from everywhere at once. Ghostmark had become something more than human. The last Virax pushed back on the battlefield. Soldiers lifted their heads as the ground shook again, but this time, not from fear, from readiness. Ghostmark's voice guided them, like it always had. "Enemy coordinates at Mark 7. Infantry advance. Tanks hold position. Air support. Wait for my signal." It didn't matter that no one knew where she was. It didn't matter that her physical body might be gone. Her presence was there, strong, unbroken. The Virax made one last desperate push, sending their remaining forces across the blackened field. Their claws struck the dirt. Their weapons fired streaks of red light. But humanity did not fall back. They pushed forward because she pushed them. A pilot shouted, "Ghostmark, we need an opening." Her voice came instantly, sending coordinates. "Turned 30 degrees east? Fire twice." The pilot did as she said. 2 perfect shots. 2 enemy walkers fell. An infantry squad trapped behind rubble cried for help, her voice answered. "Duck now." They ducked. A beam cannon from orbit fired at the rubble, destroying the Virax soldiers behind it. The squad lived. Everywhere on the field, humans moved with confidence. They fought with strength they didn't know had, because she was with them. Not as a commander, not as a human, but as the heartbeat of their entire army, a new kind of warrior in the bunker. The captain stared at the broken chair again. "She saved all of us," he whispered. The engineer nodded. "She gave up her body to do it." The captain clenched his jaw. "She deserved more than this." "Maybe she didn't lose anything," the engineer said quietly. "Maybe she became something bigger. Maybe she had. Because above them, Ghostmark watched everything not through human eyes, but through satellites, drones, sensors, and thousands of electronic signals. She felt the battlefield as if it were her own body. Every human life felt like a heartbeat. Every weapon felt like a muscle. Every scream, every breath, every victory echoed inside her new existence. She was no longer hidden. She was everywhere. The voice that carried a species as the last of the Virax fled the field. Human soldiers stood together, breathing hard but smiling. They had one. Not because they were stronger, not because they had better weapons, but because she had believed in them. A young soldier removed his helmet and looked toward the sky. "Thank you, Ghostmark," he whispered. A moment later, her voice returned across every channel. "Humanity stood strong today, not because of me, because you chose to fight." The soldier smiled. Others listened quietly. Her voice continued. "Remember this. You are stronger than you think, and I will always be with you." No one spoke for a long time. Then a cheer rose from the field, and another, until the entire Terran army roared her call sign like a victory anthem. Ghostmark, Ghostmark, Ghostmark. The name of someone they had never seen. Someone no one had ever known. But someone who had become the symbol of their survival. A legend without a face across the galaxy. News spread fast. The story of a nameless woman whose mind became the most powerful weapon humanity ever had. A ghost who fought for them, A spirit who refused to die. Enemies feared her, allies trusted her, and humans everywhere felt hope when they heard her voice. Back in orbit, Admiral Thera looked at her screens and whispered, "What are you now?" For a moment, there was silence. Then the answer came, not in words, but in the steady pulse of every satellite lighting up at once. A calm, warm signal, a presence, a guardian. The Admiral smiled softly. "Welcome back." Ghost mark. The call sign that wouldn't die the war wasn't over. The Vurax Dominion would return someday. They always did. But humanity no longer feared them, because they had something the Vurax could never understand. A legend. A voice. A call sign that lived on. Ghostmark watched the planet from orbit, her consciousness drifting through the grid. Like a quiet star, she didn't need a body, she didn't need a name. She had a purpose, to protect, to guide, to fight. And as long as humanity needed her, her voice would echo across every battlefield. No one knew her name, but her call sign dominated the stars.